That's it.
And so besides the point, what does that have to do with the point?
All right.
What does that have to do with the point of where did you get?
All right, y'all. That's it, man. That's it. Let me go to Yasha Ben Israel. What's up, man? You want to say something?
Yes, sir.
Let's go. With all the stuff you heard tonight, let's hear from our brother Yasha Ben Israel.
First, I want to say that you asked the question about the what was it, the lost tribes of Israel. But when you asked that question, you asked it to the Hebrew Israelites, right?
Right.
I want to say for the record, right? I am not and never was a Hebrew Israelite.
You on this?
These guys that you have
He's
on this.
running.
Hold on, Sonetta, do I have the right to speak?
Yes, you are an Israelite. That's what
One of the biggest problems was that I was greatly cut off by the elders. When we asked me a question, I said it was unintelligible to me because I am not a Hebrew Israelite. I never was. My hold on now. Allow me to speak. I asked the elder, can I speak?
Yes, you can speak. Go ahead, brother.
I never ever was. I am an African American and I am Jewish. I follow the Jewish religion. Okay? That's two different things. I am not a Hebrew Israelite at all.
Hold on, man. This is Sonetta speaking. Are you saying you're not an Israelite, brother?
I am not what you call a Hebrew Israelite.
I said an Israelite. Are you an Israelite?
I am Jewish. I am Jewish, and that's just what it is. I am Jewish from the Jewish religion, aka a black Jew. Now, do I believe that the Jews were black? Yes, but I am not a Hebrew Israelite. Okay,
that's
and I need to say that for the record because my response is not like none of theirs.
Tell the truth, bro.
I don't believe in nothing that they believe in.
Let him speak. Let the brother speak, man.
Okay, my responses are nothing like none of theirs, and it never has been. I don't believe in none of the stuff that none of the people believe in. All of the stuff that they spewed out their mouth on this channel, I don't believe in none of that stuff. Never has. Okay, well, let me tell you what I believe for the record. I believe that the ancient world, okay, prior to 1492, really was governed and ruled by black people, okay? I believe the Israelites were black. I believe the Egyptians were black. I believe all of the ancient world was black, okay? Hebrew Israelites don't believe that, okay? Now, we're talking about this Jew and Gentile thing. A Jew is a Jew and a Gentile is a Gentile. Flat out. There is no half Jew, half Gentile, lost tribe, this and that. I said it was unintelligible to me because the whole lost tribe thing is a myth.
Mm-hmm.
The people who
know where they went to.
History, the Israelites have never been lost.
Right. For sure.
Okay? And anybody who play into that idea, like the Hebrew Israelites do, and I don't, okay, that's crazy. The Israelites, the black Israelites, the Chinese Israelites, and all of the people that we have impregnated and touched throughout the four corners of this earth are Israelite people. Okay, and you can find our seed, the E1, B1, and all of that old stuff. You can find that everywhere. And that seed is in the Egyptians, it's in the Libyans, it's in the ancient Futites, it's in the ancient Sumerians, it's in the ancient Egyptians. Okay, we are the people of the ancient world. Okay, now it's a whole lot that was said, and I was taking some notes, but basically for the most part, that's pretty much, I just summed up a lot of the stuff that I said in a nutshell. I don't believe in none of that stuff.
Let me say this, brother.
So what we dealing with when the black Jews in Africa and the Americas, the Jews that Aaron Halevi was talking about were the Jews that were sent over by way of the Spanish Inquisition. They were not the people that were already over here longer before that. They were a specific group of black people. is Manasseh ben Israel. This is Manasseh ben Israel. This is the man responsible for the teachings of the lost tribes of Israel. Okay. This is the man responsible for the idea that the lost tribes of Israel were over here in the Americas. So scroll down, we can see he was born in 1604. That's important. His real name was Manuel Diaz Soyero. He died in 1657. Let's look into the life of Manasseh ben Israel. Manasseh was born in La Roche in 1604. What we want to get to is the bottom of where this idea, where he get this idea that the children of Israel were over in the Americas, right? So in 1644, Manasseh met Antonio Montesinos, Antonio de Montesinos, a Portuguese traveler and Marrano Sephardic Jew who had been in the New World. Now, he's a Marrano Sephardic Jew. More than likely, he was, at that time in 1644, he was of African descent, or a black man, right? So, what would be called a black man today. So, this Mario's, he was a Marrano Sephardic Jew who had been in the New World. Montesinos convinced Manasseh of his conclusion that the South America Andes Indians were the descendants of the lost tribes of Israel. This purported discovery gave a new impulse to Manasseh's messianic hopes, as a settlement of Jews throughout the world was supposed to be a sign that the Messiah would come. Filled with this idea, he turned his attention to England, whence the Jews had been expelled since 1220. He worked to get them permission to settle there again, and thus hastened the Messiah's coming. So let's take a deeper look at this Antonio Montesinos. Okay. Now this was in 1644 now, right? In 1644, Antonio de Montesinos, also known as Aaron Levi or Aaron HaLevi, Aaron the Levite, was a Portuguese traveler and a converso Sephardic Jew who in 1644 persuaded Manasseh ben Israel, a rabbi of Amsterdam, that he had found one of the 10 lost tribes of Israel living in the jungles of the Quito province. Remember that now. He said that they were not all of the people that were living in that area, but a specific people that lived in the Quito province, right? And he recognized them people as himself, looking like him, looking like any of the records, looking like any of the records had recorded Jews to have looked, not necessarily like the people in that area, but specifically more like the Jewish people. This supposed discovery gave a new impulse to Manasseh's messianic hopes. Manasseh wrote a book about this narrative, The Hopes of Israel. In it, Manasseh argued and tried to give learned support to the theory that the native inhabitants of America at the time of the European discovery were actually descendants of the lost tribes of Israel. Now he's saying that the people that were in that he was saying that the people in that area at the time of the discovery. Now that's what Manasseh's approach was. Now Aaron Halevi never made that claim. He just all Aaron Halevi did was specifically said that the people in the Quito province, right? He never said anything about about that when the Europeans came there, that the people that were there when the Europeans came there. He never said that those were the people. He just specifically said the people that were in this particular area. The idea that these people, the tribes of people that were there when the Europeans came there was no more than Manasseh ben Israel's conjecture, right? So we're going to take a look at what the people of the Quinto Islands look like. Now, these are the black Peruvians, and these were the people that came there. They were there. These people came there by the conquistadors, right? So they were already there. They were brought there by what it says that the black Peruvians or Afro-Peruvians are Peruvians of mostly or partial African descent. They mostly descend from enslaved Africans brought to Peru after the arrival of the conquistadors, not after the arrival of the Europeans, meaning the British. So these people were the people that were brought here over from Spain, okay, and these were your black and these consisted of your black Peruvians. These are those Israelites that Aaron Halevi told Manasseh ben Israel about. These were those black Indians, right? They were Indians, no doubt. They had the culture of the Indian people and the Africans. These are the people that Rabbi Ben Manasseh was talking about. Let's back up out of that. Now let's see what happens when we look up the black Ecuadorians. These are the people of the Quinto region that were brought. They were Jewish because they were there as a result of being expelled by the conquistadors of the Spanish Inquisition. These are those people. Look at them. He didn't say all the people in the Andes. He didn't say all the people in Ecuador. He talked about a specific people in a specific region that were Jewish just like himself, that looked like the people of Spain just like himself. Look at this. These are the tribes of Ecuador, people. Let's back up out of that. Now let's read some of this information. It says the Afro-Ecuadorians, also known as Black Ecuadorians, are Ecuadorians of predominantly sub-Saharan African descent. We look in the background history. This is Los Tres Mulattos de Esmeraldas in 1599. So these people right here were already there when Aaron Ben Levi, as a traveler, encountered these people. And these were the people that he was telling Rabbi Ben Manasseh about. And Rabbi Ben Manasseh, not using common logic, mistaken that all of the people of that area, which kind of is kind of pushing the buck, because Halavi never said that. He said these particular people. He said most Afro-Ecuadorians are descendants of enslaved Africans who were transported predominantly by British slavers to Ecuador from the early 1600s. In 1553, the first, which is all of this is still prior to both Halavi and Manasseh ben Israel. So in 1553, the first enslaved Africans reached Ecuador in Quito, when the slave ships heading to Peru were stranded off the Ecuadorian coast. So it was a slave ship. We want to look more often to the history of that slave, that slave ship and the cargo on there. For these were the children of Israel that the British had brought over, which still brings truth because this was after the conquistadors. I stated before the British because there were a group of people that came over there before the British. And they were the first group that I told you about, right? But I'll get back off into that in another video. So in 1553, the first enslaved Africans reached Ecuador in Quito, meaning that these were the people, the Moranos, the blacks, the Moors, that Aaron Halavi encountered. It was not that all of the Indians in the Americas were the Hebrews. That was the mistake of Rabbi Ben Israel, of Manasseh ben Israel. That was his mistake, okay? That was his conjecture. He was not following the plans, the formula which was given to him to be able to identify the children of Israel by Aaron Halavi. Aaron Halavi specifically talked about the people in Ecuador in the Quito region. And these black people are those people. The enslaved Africans escaped and established maroon settlements in Esmeraldas, which became a safe haven as many Africans fleeing slave conditions either escaped to there or were forced to live there. Eventually, they started moving from their traditional homeland and were settling elsewhere in Ecuador. So eventually, they began to move out of Ecuador. Out of the Shito region and began to move elsewhere in Ecuador. Racism as an individual base on an individual basis and society are strongly discriminated against by the Mestizo and Creole the Criollo populations. As a result, along with lack of government funding and low societal mobility, poverty affects their communities more so than the white and Mestizo populations of Ecuador. So the Mestizos, they were the people that were mixture of the other indigenous people of that land and white folks. I forget what the Criollo people is. I'll look into that in a minute. So it said after slavery was abolished in 1851, Africans became marginalized in Ecuador. So that's when their identity began to start to change. Afro-Ecuadorian people and culture are found primarily in the country's northwest coastal region. That's today now, right? The majority of the Afro-Ecuadorian population, 70%, are found in the provinces of Esmeraldas and in the Valle del Cota, in the Ambabura province, where they are the majority. They can also be found in significant numbers in watch this, y'all, Guayaquil and in Ibarra. Notice, y'all, that this word Ibarra is Hebrew for Hebrew. It's a Hebrew word meaning Hebrew. The word Hebrew in Hebrew is Ibarra, right? In Arabic it's real, Ibri, Ibarra, yep. Where in some neighborhoods they make up the majority. Many Afro-Ecuadorians have participated in sports, for instance, playing with the Ecuador national football team, which is actually soccer, right? Many of whom hail from Valle del Cata. The Jews in Ecuador dates back to the 16th to 17th century, when Sephardic Jews like Aaron Halevi being arriving from Spain and Portugal as a result of the Spanish Inquisition. So this is how he would know. He would know because he was a descendant of those people. This is why they tell you he was a traveler. He was a traveler at that time, no different, traveling for the same reasons as other Jews, escaping the Spanish Inquisition. Ecuadorian Jews are members of a small Jewish community in the territory of today's Ecuador, and they form one of the smallest community in South America. So here's an article where you can read further upon the Jewish history in Ecuador. And really, all of this stuff validates the stuff that I've been telling you all. I've been telling you all that here we go. He's talking about Quito again. They say a relatively large number of migrants made their way towards the southern and northern Chile audience of Quito. Within Quito, the new diaspora first headed to the interior Juan Salinas and Loyola, later transformed into the township of Loja. So people, all you have to do is just read. They've always said that if you didn't want people to know anything, all you have to do is put it in a book. So when I challenged the One West Israelites about their claim and their One West chart, that 12 tribes chart, all of those Israelite organizations and Israelite groups, I challenged them about that because all of those people that are in those lands are not Israelites. Only the black people. And I've been telling y'all that for years. And they are the same people that have been caught up in all of the slave trades since the dumb divorces, the Spanish Inquisition, all the way on up until today. The statue of Chief Tootie down in New Orleans, and he is depicted as this. And this is what we know as a black man. I'm over here messing up the photo, y'all. Let me back up out of there and do it right. Well, that's him right there. We can take that. These